1 minute ago, the financial world just shifted, and your dollar might have lost more power than you think. India just paid for Russian oil in Chinese yuan, completely bypassing the US dollar. And this isn't just about India and Russia, this is about your savings, your gas prices, and the global money system that's quietly crumbling beneath our feet. But before we dive in, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment. I subscribe. And I'll personally welcome you into the family. With that said, let's get started. Right now, as you're watching this video, the currency in your bank account is losing its grip on global power. And most people have no idea it's even happening. Here's what we know. India's state refiners completed a massive oil transaction entirely in yuan. Not a test run. Not a symbolic gesture. A full-scale, operational trade that marks a seismic shift in how the world does business. The consequences reach your wallet whether you live in Mumbai, Moscow, or Miami. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your retirement savings, your grocery bills, and your children's economic future are all tied to this single moment. But before we reveal what this means for you, you need to understand the 3 dominoes that just fell, the hidden player orchestrating this entire shift, and most importantly, what you can do about it before it's too late. Let's start with the first domino. When the West sanctioned Russia in 2022, they thought they'd cripple Putin's economy. Politicians stood at podiums promising that economic isolation would bring Russia to its knees within months. Instead, they accidentally accelerated the end of dollar dominance. Meet Rajesh, a 34-year-old oil trader in Mumbai. In early 2022, he was doing what he'd always done, buying crude oil with dollars. It was simple. It was secure. It was the only way the system worked. Then February 24th happened. Russia invaded Ukraine, and within 48 hours, the Western sanctions machine kicked into overdrive. Rajesh showed up to work on February 28th and discovered he couldn't buy Russian crude anymore with dollars. Banks froze transactions. SWIFT access was cut. The entire dollar-based payment infrastructure that had worked flawlessly for decades suddenly had a giant "access denied" sign plastered across it. But here's the thing: India desperately needed that oil. The country imports 85% of its crude oil needs. Indian refineries are specifically designed to process Russian crude grades. And Russian barrels were suddenly selling at 20 to 30% discounts because nobody else could buy them. Rajesh was staring at a gold mine he couldn't touch. His refinery clients were screaming for cheap oil. Russian suppliers were desperate to sell. But the dollar bridge had been blown up. So Rajesh did what traders do. He found a workaround. Within 3 weeks, he was on calls with Chinese intermediaries, Russian suppliers, and Indian government officials. The solution they crafted changed everything. China stepped in with an offer India couldn't refuse. Use our currency. We'll facilitate the trade. We've already got yuan clearing systems with Russia. You plug into our network, and suddenly, that cheap oil is yours. And just like that, the yuan became the bridge currency for one of the world's largest oil trades. India started stockpiling yuan reserves. Chinese banks opened special clearing accounts. By March 2022, the first yuan-denominated oil shipment arrived in Mumbai. Rajesh told reporters later, "We didn't want to abandon the dollar. The dollar abandoned us. We just needed to keep the lights on." According to a September 2024 Atlantic Council Geoeconomics Center report, non-dollar trade settlements jumped 37% year-over-year. That's not a trend, that's a financial earthquake. And the aftershocks are still coming. Here's what makes this terrifying for dollar dominance. Russia is now China's largest oil supplier, moving over 2 million barrels per day. And guess what currency they're not using? Not a single dollar changes hands in these transactions. But this is just the beginning. Because while India was solving its oil problem, 5 other major economies were watching and taking notes. While you were scrolling social media, 6 major economies quietly joined the de-dollarization club. Brazil signed currency swap agreements with China. Saudi Arabia inked LNG deals in yuan. The UAE opened yuan clearing houses in Abu Dhabi. Iran shifted entirely to yuan for its Chinese trade. Bangladesh started paying for power plants in yuan. And Pakistan restructured debt payments into yuan. This isn't coincidence. This is coordination. Let me tell you about Sarah, an American expat who moved to Dubai 3 years ago for a finance job. Last month, she walked into Emirates NBD to open a savings account. Standard procedure. She expected the usual pitch about dollar accounts, maybe some dirham options. The banker, a polite Emirati man named Ahmed, smiled and said something that stopped her cold. We're seeing a lot of interest in our yuan savings accounts. The rates are quite competitive, 2.8% compared to 1.9% for dollar accounts. Sarah laughed. Actually laughed out loud. Why would I need Chinese currency in Dubai? I'm American. I get paid in dollars. Ahmed pulled up his screen and showed her the numbers. Last quarter, 34% of our corporate clients opened yuan accounts. The year before it was 8%. These aren't Chinese companies. These are UAE businesses, European firms, even some American multinationals. Sarah left that bank without opening any account. She went home and started researching. What she found kept her up at night. The turning point came in March 2024, when Saudi Arabia, the absolute heart of the petrodollar system, signed its first LNG deal with China worth $10 billion, paid entirely in yuan. This wasn't just any deal. This was Saudi Arabia, the country that made a pact with the US in 1974 to only sell oil in dollars, now accepting yuan. For 50 years, that Saudi-US agreement was the foundation of dollar dominance. Oil was priced in dollars. Everyone needed oil. Therefore, everyone needed dollars. It was the most elegant economic lock-in system ever created. But that lock is breaking. IMF data from Q2 2024 shows the dollar's share of global reserves fell to 58.9%, the lowest level since 1995. Let that sink in. In the year 2000, the dollar made up 71% of global reserves. That's a 12 percentage point drop. In currency terms, we're talking about trillions of dollars in lost demand. And it's accelerating. The decline from 60% to 58.9% happened in just 18 months. Imagine the dollar as a currency king who once ruled every kingdom in sight. Slowly, one by one, those kingdoms are declaring independence. Not through war. Not through revolution. Just through quiet trade deals and currency swaps that barely make the evening news. The dollar isn't dead. But it's no longer the only king at the table. And that changes everything. Now here's where this gets personal. Because this isn't just geopolitical chess. This directly impacts your wallet in 3 brutal ways that most financial advisors won't tell you about. If you've got savings in dollars, a mortgage, a car loan, or you're planning retirement, this next part is critical. First impact, gas prices. When oil trades in yuan instead of dollars, American refiners face a hidden tax. They have to convert dollars to yuan to buy the oil, then the oil gets refined, then sold in dollars. Every conversion costs money. Exchange rate fees. Banking charges. Hedging costs to protect against currency fluctuations. Who absorbs these costs? At the pump. Every single time you fill up your tank. David, a 52-year-old truck driver from Toledo, Ohio, saw his fuel costs jump 18% in 2023. He drives an 18-wheeler for a regional logistics company, covering about 3,000 miles a week. Fuel is his biggest expense after his mortgage. I thought it was just inflation, David told me over a phone call. Everyone kept saying inflation, supply chain issues, whatever. But then I started talking to other drivers at truck stops. We compared notes. Our fuel costs were climbing faster than the official inflation numbers suggested. David started digging. He's not an economist. He's a trucker with a high school diploma and 30 years of road experience. But he's not stupid. He found reports about Indian refiners buying Russian oil in yuan. About Saudi Arabia's yuan deals. About currency conversion costs getting passed down the supply chain. I realized this wasn't just about supply and demand anymore, he said. The entire system was shifting. And guys like me, we're paying for it before anyone else even notices. Second impact, inflation pressure. Here's the thing about reserve currencies most people don't understand. When your currency is the reserve currency, there's constant global demand for it. Foreign governments need it for reserves. International businesses need it for trade. That demand keeps your currency strong and stable. But when fewer countries need dollars, demand falls. And when demand falls, your currency's purchasing power weakens. Your dollars buy less bread, less gas, less housing, both at home and abroad. Oxford Economics released a projection in August 2024 that's deeply concerning. A 10% decline in dollar dominance could trigger 2 to 3% additional domestic inflation on top of whatever baseline inflation already exists. Think about what that means. If baseline inflation is running at 3%, you're suddenly looking at 5 to 6% total. That's the difference between comfortable retirement and having to work 3 extra years. Maria, a 58-year-old teacher in Phoenix, Arizona, felt this shift without even understanding its source. She's been contributing to her 401k for 35 years, planning to retire at 62. Last year, she met with her financial advisor for her annual check-in. The advisor pulled up her portfolio and delivered news that made Maria's stomach drop. Based on current inflation projections and dollar valuation trends, you'll need to work until 65 to maintain your planned lifestyle in retirement. 3 extra years. Not because she made bad investments. Not because she didn't save enough. But because the currency her life savings are denominated in is losing relative global value. Third impact, the investment time bomb nobody's talking about. Foreign governments and institutions hold approximately $7 trillion in U.S. Treasury bonds. These are considered the safest investment in the world because they're backed by the U.S. government and denominated in the world's reserve currency. But what happens when the dollar is no longer the reserve currency, just a reserve currency? Those bonds lose value. And if countries start dumping them to rebalance their reserves into yuan, euros, or gold, you get a downward spiral. Bond prices fall. Interest rates spike to attract buyers. Stock markets tumble because higher interest rates mean companies pay more to borrow money. Retirement accounts that hold bonds, which is most of them, take massive hits. Japan holds over $1 trillion in U.S. treasuries. China holds about $850 billion. If they dump even 10% to diversify into other currencies, the ripple effect would devastate American markets. But before panic sets in, there's something critical you need to understand. This isn't happening in a vacuum. And there's a hidden player orchestrating parts of this shift that most analysts are completely overlooking. This isn't about China versus America in some zero-sum geopolitical death match. It's about China rewriting the rules of the entire game while everyone else is still arguing about the score. Here's the strategy, and it's breathtakingly simple in hindsight. The Belt and Road Initiative has locked over 150 countries into yuan-based infrastructure loans. Roads in Pakistan, railways in Kenya and Ethiopia, ports in Sri Lanka, Greece, and Peru, bridges in Bangladesh, power plants in Egypt, all financed with Chinese yuan, all requiring repayment in yuan. And here's the genius of it. When you owe money in a specific currency, you need that currency to pay it back. Which means you need to earn that currency. Which means you start accepting that currency for your own exports. Which creates more demand for that currency globally. It's a self-reinforcing loop that China engineered over 15 years while American policymakers were focused on military interventions in the Middle East. Kwame, a government infrastructure official in Ghana, explained the situation to journalists last year. We needed a highway connecting our ports to our agricultural regions. The World Bank wanted feasibility studies, environmental impact reports, governance reforms. That process takes 5 to 7 years. China said, we'll start building in 6 months. Pay us back in 15 years. Use yuan or your own currency, we'll handle the conversion. Ghana took the deal. So did 149 other countries. Now, 15 years later, those bills are coming due. Ghana's highway is operational, moving billions in agricultural exports. But the loan repayments? They're in yuan. Which means Ghana needs yuan reserves. Which means when China offers to buy Ghana's cocoa in yuan instead of dollars, Ghana says yes, because they need yuan anyway. It's not coercion. It's not imperialism. It's just really smart strategic economics. Here's the stat that should terrify dollar defenders. 70% of countries now do more trade with China than with the US. In the year 2000, that number was 25%. That's a complete reversal in just 2 decades. Each yuan transaction creates more yuan liquidity globally. More yuan circulating means more banks offer yuan accounts. More yuan accounts mean businesses can more easily accept yuan payments. More yuan payments mean exporters can more easily invoice in yuan. It's a compounding effect. A Harvard Kennedy School study from 2024 found that yuan-denominated trade in emerging markets grew 156% since 2020. That's not growth, that's exponential adoption. Amara, a deputy finance minister in Kenya, put it bluntly in an interview. Our railway was built with Chinese loans. When debt payments come due, we pay in yuan. Our largest tea importer is China, they pay in yuan. Our infrastructure development partner is China, they transact in yuan. At a certain point, holding dollars becomes the inconvenience, not the solution. It's like watching a new language slowly become the lingua franca of global business. Not through military conquest, not through cultural dominance. Just through 1,000 convenient transactions that suddenly add up to a new world order. But here's the twist that most analysts are missing, and it could change everything. The dollar isn't dead. Not even close. It's evolving. And that evolution might be exactly what saves it. Reality check number 1. 88% of all foreign exchange transactions still involve the dollar, according to the Bank for International Settlements 2024 Triennial Survey. Think about that. Despite everything we just discussed, the yuan deals, the de-dollarization, the declining reserve status, 88% of forex trades still touch the dollar at some point. That's not a currency in freefall. That's a currency that's still absolutely dominant in the financial system, just not omnipotent anymore. Reality check number 2. US financial markets remain the deepest, most liquid, and most transparent in the world. The New York Stock Exchange processes trillions in daily trades. The US bond market is larger than the next 3 markets combined. American venture capital funded more unicorn startups in 2024 than the rest of the world combined. You can't replicate that infrastructure overnight. China's been trying for 20 years and still hasn't created markets with equivalent depth and trust. Jennifer Chen, a senior forex analyst at Goldman Sachs, explained it to me this way. Every empire's currency eventually faces challenges. The British pound sterling was the global currency for 200 years. Then World War I and World War II devastated British finances, and the dollar took over by 1944. The pound didn't disappear, Britain didn't collapse. Life went on. The pound just became a regional currency instead of a global hegemon. She continued, the question isn't, will the dollar survive? Of course it will. The question is, what version of the dollar survives? A monopoly dollar that controls everything? No, that era is ending. But a dominant dollar that coexists with other major currencies in a multipolar system? Absolutely. And here's what's fascinating. The US is already adapting. The Federal Reserve accelerated its digital dollar project in 2024, aiming to launch a central bank digital currency by 2027. This would allow instant, low-cost international settlements while maintaining dollar infrastructure relevance. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which politicians drained for short-term gas price relief, is being refilled, but with a twist. New releases are structured to stabilize dollar-oil relationships during price spikes, maintaining the dollar's connection to energy markets even as some oil trades in yuan. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen negotiated new trade frameworks with India, Vietnam, and Mexico in 2024 that include dollar-based payment guarantees, ensuring those massive economies maintain significant dollar liquidity. These aren't desperate moves. They're strategic adaptations from a country that's been the world's leading economy for 80 years and knows how to evolve. But, and this is crucial, evolution requires accepting that you're no longer the only apex predator in the ecosystem. And that reality is hitting Americans hard because we've lived our entire lives in a dollar-dominant world. The real question isn't whether India ditched dollars for yuan on one oil transaction. The real question is, what does the world look like when no single currency dominates everything? Top financial analysts are now predicting a multipolar currency future, 3 to 5 major reserve currencies coexisting by 2035. The dollar will be one of them, probably still the largest. The yuan will be another, especially dominant in Asia and Africa. The euro might stabilize and grow as Europe consolidates. Digital currencies, whether government-issued or blockchain-based, might carve out significant niches. What does this actually mean for regular people? More complexity, yes. More currency exchange fees for international travel, probably. But also more resilience. Think about it. Right now, if the dollar collapses, the entire global economy goes down with it. Every country holding dollar reserves gets wiped out. Every business with dollar-denominated debt faces bankruptcy. It's a financial doomsday scenario. But in a multipolar currency world, if one currency fails, the system adapts. Trade shifts to other currencies. The damage is contained. It's like having backup generators when the main power grid fails. Marcus Tan, a 41-year-old hedge fund manager in Singapore, already lives in this future. He manages $800 million in assets diversified across 4 currencies, 40% in dollars, 25% in yuan, 20% in euros, and 15% in Singapore dollars. My grandfather's investment portfolio was 100% dollar denominated, Marcus told me. One currency. Simple. He made a fortune and retired comfortably. My father diversified into 2 currencies, dollars and yen. I need 4 currencies to feel secure. And I'm already telling my kids they'll probably need 7 or 8. Is that more complicated? Absolutely. Is it more resilient? Also absolutely. Change feels scary because humans are evolutionarily wired to prefer the familiar and fear the unknown. But currency systems have always evolved. We went from bartering livestock to using gold coins to printing paper money to creating digital numbers on screens. Each transition felt apocalyptic to the people living through it. The Peterson Institute for International Economics released a comprehensive report in November 2024 with a crucial conclusion. De-dollarization is not currency collapse, it's normalization. The historical anomaly wasn't a multipolar currency system. The anomaly was a monopoly dollar. We're simply returning to a more natural state of currency plurality. So while governments and central banks play currency chess, while economists write papers and journalists write headlines, there's only one question that matters to you. What can you actually do about this? Step 1. Diversify your currency exposure. If 100% of your savings are in dollar-denominated assets, you're overexposed to a single currency risk. Consider holding 10 to 20% of investable assets in international funds, foreign bonds, or multi-currency accounts. Companies like Wise, formerly TransferWise, allow you to hold accounts in over 50 currencies simultaneously. You can move money between them at real exchange rates. Interactive Brokers offers multi-currency investment accounts where you can trade stocks in their native currencies. Step 2. Increase your commodity-backed investments. Gold and silver have held value across every currency system in human history. When the Roman denarius collapsed, gold still bought bread. When the Weimar German mark hyperinflated into worthlessness, gold still held value. When the British pound lost its reserve status, gold owners were protected. Central banks know this. In 2024, global central banks purchased 1,037 tons of gold, the highest level in 55 years. They're hedging against currency instability. You can too. Physical gold, gold ETFs, gold mining stocks. Each offers different exposure levels. Even 5 to 10% of your portfolio in gold can provide significant downside protection during currency crises. Step 3. If you run a business, implement multi-currency payment systems now. Don't wait until you're forced to. Companies like PayPal, Stripe, and Payoneer offer seamless multi-currency invoicing and payment acceptance. James, a 38-year-old software entrepreneur in Austin, Texas, implemented this strategy in 2023. His SaaS company serves clients in 47 countries. He now allows customers to pay in their local currencies, dollars, euros, yuan, rupees, whatever works for them. At first, I thought it was overkill, James admitted. Extra complexity. More accounting headaches. But last quarter, I picked up 3 major contracts in India specifically because I could invoice in rupees. My competitors only accepted dollars, which meant their Indian clients had to deal with conversion fees and exchange rate risk. I removed that friction and I won the business. Step 4. Educate yourself continuously. Currency shifts don't happen overnight. This isn't a stock market crash where you lose everything in a day. This is a slow-motion transformation taking place over years and decades. Subscribe to financial newsletters. Follow currency analysts on social media. Read reports from institutions like the IMF, Peterson Institute, and Council on Foreign Relations. Understanding the direction of change gives you time to prepare. Step 5. Don't panic. Seriously. Panic selling, panic buying, and panic decisions destroy wealth faster than currency shifts ever could. The sky isn't falling. The ground is just shifting beneath our feet. And those who prepare, who stay calm, stay informed, and stay flexible, don't just survive these transitions. So here's the final question I'm leaving you with, and I want you to really think about this. If you could design the future of global money from scratch, would you want one dominant currency controlling everything? Or would you want a system where multiple currencies compete, balance each other, and create a more resilient global economy? There's no right answer. But your answer reveals how you see the next 20 years unfolding. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And here's what I really want to know. Which currency do you think will be the strongest in 2030? The dollar, still hanging on? The yuan, rising fast? The euro, making a comeback? Or something we haven't even seen yet, maybe a digital currency backed by AI, carbon credits, or a basket of commodities? Because here's the truth, 1 year from now, we might be making a completely different video about the next major currency shift. And when that happens, I want to look back at these comments and see who called it. Will you be one of them?